Okay, today, Primary 4 for literacy, we are learning to punctuate dialogue. Now, dialogue is simply a conversation between two or more people in a play, a book, or a film. Okay, now at the start of chapter 4, there is a lot of dialogue between Mr. and Mrs. Fox, and also Mr. Fox, between Mr. Fox and his children, the small foxes. Okay, now on my book, I'm going to highlight some dialogue. Now, you are not allowed to highlight in your book. Okay, this is my book, so I can write on it, but please do not write on your books. Okay, so how do we know if a character is speaking in a book? Which punctuation mark will help us with that? Have a look. Pause if you need to. Okay. If you can see the purple circles, you will see that we have, just make it a bit clearer for you, a speech mark here before the word it, and a speech mark after the word hearts. So the first one indicates that the character is starting to speak, and the second one has indicated to us that the character has stopped speaking. Okay, and it hurts said Mr. Fox. Okay, so Mr. Fox said it hurts. Okay, now if you look up here, you can see some more dialogue. Let's see if you can see it. See the dialogue, maybe in the first paragraph. Okay, if you go down to the second line, we have, the dialogue has started there. It was the finest tale for miles around. And then we have the second speech mark, which tells us that the dialogue has stopped. She said between licks. Okay, so the words spoken are, it was the finest tale for miles around. She said between licks. So that's Mrs. Fox. Okay, let's have a look further down. Here's Mr. Fox. There we go, it's a bit clearer. It will never grow again, said Mr. Fox. Okay, so we have the speech mark at the front telling us that the dialogue has started, and tell us where is the other speech mark to tell us that the dialogue has ended. Ah, there it is. Oh, there we go. Okay, it will never grow again, said Mr. Fox. Okay, let's look at this piece of dialogue, and let's look at other pieces of punctuation that we can see within that sentence. Okay, we know that when the character starts speaking, we start off with a speech mark. Now, because it's the start of a sentence, you will always use a capital letter for the first word. Okay, so it has a capital I. Okay, it hurts. Now we know after the word hurts, Mr. Fox stops speaking, so we will put the second speech mark after the word hurts. Now, what punctuation mark can you see after the word hurts? What is that? We've got speech marks in pink, or the purple, within the purple circles. We know that when the character starts to speak, we must start with a capital letter. But what other punctuation mark can you see? Yep, hopefully, boys and girls, you've said a comma. Okay, and unless you're using a question mark or an exclamation mark, you always put a comma after the last word that has been spoken. It hurts, comma, speech marks, said Mr. Fox. Okay, let's look at another sentence to see if it's the same. Oh, It will never grow again, said Mr. Fox. Let's see. We've got the speech marks to indicate that he's started to speak. And when he's finished, the last word that he says is again. There is a capital I because it's the start of the sentence. And is there a comma? Where is the comma? It will never grow again. That's not a question mark. It's not a question. We don't really need to put an exclamation mark at that point. So yes, well done. Hopefully you've said comma. There is a comma. Okay, said Mr. Fox. Now let's have a quick look at some dialogue on the next page. Never, said Mr. Fox. We have, let me circle the speech marks to indicate that Mr. Fox is speaking. And you would think, but where's the comma? Okay, we saw commas in the other pieces of dialogue, but because Mr. Fox is shouting, never, okay, we're going to put an exclamation mark. And if you're using an exclamation mark, then you don't need to put the comma in after the last word. Okay? And it's the same for this one up here. Let me make it a bit clearer. They'll kill my children, cried Mrs. Fox. Okay? There is no comma here, boys and girls, because there is an exclamation mark. Okay?